Hey everyone, Skull902 back here again for Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the Knuckles run. This is part 6, and we're going to be going through Mushroom Hill Zone and getting all of the Super Emeralds, just as I did with Sonic. Yeah, it's going to be a long zone, and there are going to be, all those special stages again. I've been running out of things to talk about since, like, part 1. I think I might have made that same joke in the last, in the last part, but whatever, fuck it. So instead, I'm going to mention something that I forgot about in the last part as far as Knuckles' popularity in the 1990s was concerned, was his inclusion in the Sonic cartoons of the time. Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was produced and ended before Sonic 3 even came out, but Sonic Sat AM, it came out in 93, but it had 2 seasons. So the second season aired in 1994. And it ended on a cliffhanger because the show got canceled. And the cliffhanger was like, they set Snively up to be like the main villain of the next season. And there's like a pair of eyes behind him. And there was, for a long time, some speculation about who those eyes belonged to. And one of them was Knuckles, because I can see it. You know, Knuckles was... he was a rival to Sonic, and the game had just come out, so there was definitely reason to believe that, you know, in Season 3, Snively's partner in crime would be Knuckles, just as he was for Robotnik in this game. But it was, in fact, the comic character Ixis Naugus, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. So, no, it wasn't Knuckles, but apparently Knuckles was planned to... according to the producers, he was planned to be a presence near the end of the 3rd season, and then, be a full-on character in the 4th season. So, that was like, Knuckles' planned bit in the, Sonic Sat AM cartoon. He was planned on being there, but, just not in the capacity that a lot of people thought that he would be. He was also featured in the god-awful Sonic Underground in 1999, where, I'll admit, one of the ideas that they had about Knuckles was actually kind of badass and cool, but, that cartoon was so fucking horrible. The worst fucking Sonic cartoon. And it's really too bad, because I think the concept of Sonic Underground, reworked in some way, could have actually been good. It just would have had to have nothing to do with Sonic. And the whole rock band aspect, but I'm getting off track. Like in the games, Knuckles is the guardian of Angel Island, or the Floating Island as it was called back then in American material. And the episode where he and Sonic meet, it's another case of him being tricked. Because I forget what it was. I don't think it was the Master Emerald. But he's tricked by Sleet and Dingo, Robotnik's side henchmen, I guess, sidekicks, whatever, into believing that Sonic wants to steal something from him. So again, Knuckles, gullible echidna that he is, being tricked. And so Knuckles is like, oh, I hate this Sonic, I really want to fight him. Exactly like that. So, he does, and it was just, kind of silly, kind of, whatever, the kind of behavior you would expect to, see from Knuckles, being all gullible and shit. But the one thing that I said, about him that was kind of cool, was that, in Sonic Underground, he just kind of has a pet dinosaur, legit, he just has a fucking pet dinosaur, and I think that's awesome. I think he called them Chomps, but I almost called him Stegosaurus. He's more like a Brontosaurus looking motherfucker. It's just the concept, the very idea that Knuckles owns his own fucking dinosaur is amazing to me. I love it. But unfortunately, that was the only thing that was particularly at least amusing about Knuckles' inclusion in Sonic Underground, because they had this like weird romance angle with him and Sonic's sister Sonia, and like what? I mean, I don't like Sonia or anything, but it's just weird. Like whenever they do romance in Sonic, because you know, Ken Penders. You know what? I wonder if Ken Penders had anything to do with that. just Ken fucking Penders. I don't know. Ken Penders liked weird romance angles that didn't make any sense, so you know, why not in Sonic Underground? I doubt he had any actual influence, but you know, he really liked claiming ownership over Knuckles' character, considering that most of the ones that he was suing Archie and Sega over were like very clearly derivatives of Knuckles. Piece of fucking shit. But nah. We talked about Ken Penders in the last part. But so moving on from Sonic Underground, we are actually in the Sonic and Knuckles half of the game now. Fucking obviously. But there was something about Sonic and Knuckles that you know, when I found out about it, it particularly intrigued me, because like this was the kind of popular culture reach that Sonic had back in the 1990s, where like they actually did a premiere special for Sonic and Knuckles on MTV back when that was something to actually be proud of, you know, being on MTV, where like they brought, I don't remember if the number was like 50 or 100 or like 500, but they brought a bunch of contestants, kids and teenagers, to fucking Alcatraz to compete in a like Sonic and Knuckles time challenge. So it was like, alright, we have your audition tapes, and we've selected 500 participants, or something along those lines, for this competition, where you'll be playing Sonic and Knuckles, and the winner gets something. I forget what the winner got. Maybe like a free copy of the game and a cash prize or something. It was Totes Extreme 90s. But like they had all these fucking kids like spend a night at the Alcatraz prison playing Sonic and Knuckles. I'm not making this up. I will link this special in the description if it's still on YouTube. It's insane. So like the first day was like, okay, we're gonna lock you all in these cells, and you're gonna have a copy of Sonic and Knuckles and a Genesis and a TV. I guess electricity is still, you know, being put into Alcatraz. In fact, why did I even say that? I know for a fact that it is. And you bastards are gonna stay here all fucking night playing this fucking game just to see how good you get at Mushroom Hill Zone. And so like the next day, when all the kids had been spending the night in, again, Alcatraz prison playing this game, they round them all up, and they hold this competition, and it was like fastest time in Mushroom Hill Act 1 or something, and I believe that they had to play as Knuckles. It was just like, what the fuck? I legit don't understand. I mean, it's cool and hype and all that Sonic got an MTV special back when that meant something, and you know, it is a legit entertaining watch, but the thought process that went behind this, I want to see like the board meeting or the pitch meeting or whatever, when they were like, okay, so Sega wants us to promote this new video game on our network, and the way that they want to do it is to bring like 500 kids and teenagers to Alcatraz prison, where they'll spend the night practicing the game to see which one in the end is the fastest. And then like everyone on the board who hears this is just like, oh yeah, that's a wonderful idea. That's something that definitely needs to happen. Just goodness gracious. Uh, you know what would have been great though? I believe I mentioned this in Lava Reef during Sonic's run about the Christmas elves, Santa's elves, who go out on their own to make Sonic and Knuckles. But it would have been great if they had been there too, like the actors, and they had been in costume, like encouraging these kids to play Sonic and Knuckles to their full potential. Is like, you know, just have them go, yeah, kids, you enjoying this game? We're showing Santa right now. Oh goodness! But again, just a really weird thing that Sega did. As far as the promotion of Sonic and Knuckles in North America is concerned. But, you know, I suppose Sega's marketing in North America during the 90s was, like, always particularly weird. Like, you had stuff like the Sega CD commercial, where the guy just pops up on TV and scares the shit out of this teenagers. Is like, yo, you've played Sega CD? And, you know, just a bunch of weird stuff. Like I talked about Knuckles Chaotix on the 32X recently, it was in the last part, which I suppose is recently, but I'm getting off track. And there was like like both Japan and the US had the same idea. I don't know about Europe, but they probably did too. Where when they were advertising the 32X, it was a magazine advert in the US where this kid is like looking on in shock, and the words are like, Mom, what are those two Sega consoles doing? Because the 32X plugs in on top of the Genesis through the cartridge slot. And in Japan, they set it up like a fucking porn movie, with the soft jazz music and everything, and fucking moans. It was, oh man, the 90s was definitely a great time to be alive. But Sega Europe's marketing wasn't particularly normal either, because they, like one of the things I particularly remember is I don't think it was Sonic, but shit, it might have been, where like someone wrote their name in the snow, you know, that particular way, and it might have actually been Sonic. Either that or it was used to promote Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, what the fuck, man? These marketing people. I know, like, the 90s was all about disgustingness and whatnot, but seriously, just no. Oh, goodness gracious. But that's all for talking about, like, that kind of shit. Need to get back to the game. But like, Mushroom Hill Zone isn't terribly different. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there isn't a lot of variation in Mushroom Hill Zone. Like, there's some, and it's noticeable, but it's not a whole lot between Sonic and Knuckles. And then Flying Battery Zone, the next zone, has even less. I was almost gonna say worse, but it has even less variation. Same goes for Sandopolis. Like, you have the ghost mechanic in Sandopolis is changed, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But like, until Lava Reef, there's not really much difference between the Sonic and Knuckles runs. So yeah, definitely gonna have to bullshit my way through the rest of this because we still got a little bit to go. But you know, some good stuff. We don't have very many special stages left to do. This one reminds me of mint candy, because like mint is like one of the colors that's being used here. I want some mint candy. Do any of you people watching like peppermint patties, like York's peppermint patties? Those are some good shit. Fucking, I don't usually like the mixture of mint and chocolate, but that's like the one exception. Fucking York peppermint patties. I'm talking about this in a fucking playthrough about Knuckles. Goodness gracious. I'm sorry, I just can't think of anything to say. I expended all of my commentary and talking about how fucking weird Sega's advertising was in the 90s. I suppose I can get back to that. You guys ever seen the North American Sonic R commercial? That's a weird one. Where it's like these two people racing through the hallways of like some office building or something, and they're like stuck in the air or whatever. Fucking, I don't even know anymore. It's just plain weird, and that's how Sega was during the 90s. I'm surprised they didn't do that whole sex angle with the fucking Sonic and Knuckles cart. I suppose that's because this is supposed to be a kids game after all, so you know, it's just again weird. 90s. They were one and the same. Definitely one in the same. The Sonic and Knuckles premiere that I talked about, by the way, definitely. As much as I think it was cool that, you know, Sega got some promotion for Sonic and Knuckles on MTV and whatnot, again, back when that actually meant something, I think it does pale in comparison to how Sonic 3 premiered, and I'll be covering that in the extras video, but it was pretty fucking cool. Let's just say that much. Let's just say that much. That one I think is the easiest of the Super Emerald stages, the orange one, because it doesn't really challenge you all too much. Like usually the Super Emerald stages are like, you know, noticeably harder on average than usually whatever. They're, you know, on average harder than the Chaos Emerald stages, which makes sense because, you know, the standard difficulty progression. But the orange one is, like, as far as difficulty is concerned, it's kind of like Emerald 5 of the regular old Chaos Emeralds. It does not get too much harder than that. That particular stage, anyway. There are a couple others that really annoy the shit out of people, like the Trix Yogurt stage that I was talking about in Sonic's Run. This one isn't terribly hard either. I think it might have been a subconscious thing, but I go from middle and then left, right on the Emerald selection, because that's, if there's something I can't appreciate about Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the Super Emerald stages, and it's only in the full game where you can actually like select which special stage you want to play. That's something I appreciate, and I don't know if that's how they wanted you to do it as far as like going from hardest to easiest is concerned, but whatever. I don't know if they designed it that way, but it does seem to be designed that way, because the last two that I play are, you know, pretty non-difficult, and the one in the middle is very hard to lose in. It's easy to get confused in, but it's hard to lose in because there's a lot of space. But, you know, actually, in the Sonic and Knuckles game by itself, you don't get a selection like this. You don't go to Hidden Palace Zone and, you know, choose your special stage, because it's just the regular old Chaos Emeralds. I don't know what order, or, well, I mean, I don't remember. I have played the Sonic and Knuckles standalone game on its own, you know, to full completion. I just don't remember which stages go where. You know, what order that they put them in. But again, you don't get a selection. Now here's the thing I might have failed to show off in the Sonic Run, I don't remember. But you go on the left the left handle, and then you go up there into that nice little secret area to get some fucking power-ups. One of which is the electric shield, and the other one is the fire shield, which is far more useful during this boss fight. But I lost it like an idiot, just like with Sonic. But it's all okay. It's definitely all okay. Just saw Hyper Knuckles for a little bit there, and I'll talk about him more in the next part during Flying Battery, because we're out of time here. So thank you for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful day.